Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you all have had fun with the app. For your Android users, we'll have an update out for you tomorrow morning. My name's Nathan Walker. I work within Studio, and this is a company we're really passionate about finding effective software solutions. One of these we've been using a lot lately is NativeScript for Angular. I want to start talking about this stack by looking at diversity in software, a common theme we're seeing at this conference. You might have Johnny JS walk in a room, and in could come Swifty Sam and Java Jane. Historically, as you all know, these folks really could not work together. This actually could be an issue with any type of product. Maybe the product owner has a pool of talent that includes these disciplines. NativeScript really provides the opportunity for these folks to work together. And this, as you know, really is the definition of inclusion. You can include different software disciplines together when working with NativeScript. As we all know, the web for a long time has encompassed these two platforms primarily, if we're talking consumer platforms. Mobile, as we all know, has always been split between pretty much two programming language paradigms. We have Swift Objective-C on Apple, Java, and now Kotlin on Android, and respectively similar on desktop. As we all know, we've been able to talk with these languages for quite a long time. With JavaScript, we can send messages in, get a message back. And this has been pretty productive on a number of different scales. But one thing I've often strived for is more fluid interaction with these languages. This is something that really is empowering when you have the ability to interact with these languages in a fluid nature. This is NativeScript. NativeScript provides this ability. Keep note, NativeScript's on the left of the screen. It's predominantly focused on mobile right now, but the technology would enable the same interaction with desktop APIs as well. So when I'm talking about versatility in programming languages, what I really mean is, let's say Swifty Sam here. Let's say he comes to the table with this amazing game. He's written a very rich iOS game. And we can actually look at this controller and we can say, you know what, Sam, we want to work with you. I can actually take his controller, I can instantiate it, and I can simply present it in the view on a mobile device. Similarly, let's say we have Objective-C Owen. He comes from an Objective-C background. He's actually quite fancy and pretty talented. He's actually created a view with a storyboard. This storyboard provides an identifier that we can actually use to work with him as well. We can take and instantiate this storyboard right inside of TypeScript, and then we can simply show his game right inside the mobile device. Now, lest we not forget about Java Jane. Java Jane is an amazing Android developer, and she's also written a game. This kid's game activity is also another class that is not a problem with NativeScript. We can instantiate this class using Java APIs in TypeScript, and then we can start this activity and show her game. This actually isn't theoretical, folks. This just happened. I led development on Portable North Pole in the past 6 months. This was a company that had been in business for about 10 years. They spent about 5 of those years working on mobile apps on iOS and Android. 3 different repos, 3 different languages, high cost, a lot of maintenance. We started in May, and we finished this conversion in about the end of October. This is an app with millions of free and paying users, some of them very dedicated and all around the world. What we were able to do is take their web app and completely reconstruct it, of course, with Angular. And this on the left is an example of their video products guide. And this is personalizing videos to create these customized media experiences for their kids. It's a very family-oriented app. On the right, this is Android and iOS. You're actually looking at native UI components on both Android and iOS. They also are sharing the exact same code that you see on the left. The video store is completely shared with the apps on the right using completely different view language. Interestingly, this also uses forms. So this takes advantage of Angular's reactive forms to provide validation and this rich form experience that is exactly the same in terms of the business logic. 75% of this code was shared across all of these apps. An example of the game. They actually had game developers develop Android and iOS games over the past 5-6 years. What you're seeing on the left is the Android game, and on the right is iPhone. Again, completely different languages, but we were able to take what they had created and just simply use it. We could have recreated what they made and made it look identical and behave identical to this in NativeScript, but we didn't need to. They had already created it, so we just used it. This gets me excited because my constant pursuit of balance has a lot to do with this. I feel like all of you are probably the same, and that you're constantly trying to balance your developer experience with the user experience. As we all know, the more we can do this, we really create a happier experience for us and for the folks who are using the products that we build. And this is something that is hard to do at times. But when you have this versatility in programming languages, it really does allow you to create a good balance between a developer experience and a rich user experience. Talking about good developer experience, Angular, obviously, all that we're here to celebrate. Rich developer experience, TypeScript, RxJS, the CLI, list goes on and on. Love it, love it. As we all know, or maybe know, for some of us that came from Angular 1, it was really hard at first. A lot of new things, certainly for me. Minko Geshev, who's in the crowd, one of my heroes, developed Angular Seed, and this is really what made it accessible to me. It got me excited about modern Angular coming from the 1X and even beta days. I got excited about this and got involved and really wanted to push Minko to do a little bit more on his seed. And thanks to him, his pushback to keep it simple, it served the community well, I do believe. But I couldn't help myself, and I wanted to continue pushing, and so I decided to fork his repo, and I created this advanced seed. A lot of the purpose of this was based on previous projects that I had worked on that intermixed a lot of technologies together. The mobile experience is something that I always wanted to see if we could do less code, but keep the same rich experience on mobile. Same deal on desktop. On desktop here, this was done with Electron, but we're going to stay focused on mobile. When we're talking about mobile user experience, there's really a couple questions that I feel like you cannot escape. Why does Android feel like Android and iOS feel like iOS? Why does one user love their Android and another their iPhone? Who knows? People have all sorts of reasons, but one suggestion that often comes to mind is maybe they have become accustomed to the feel of each device-specific UI spec. I mean, they have talented teams that work at these companies that develop these UIs. They spend a lot of time getting these UIs perfect. The subtle feel of a tap or the way navigation feels. This really, to me, is a lot of what people love in their phone, in their mobile device, and why they like to use it. It at least provides a consistency. To me, mobile UX is a highly nuanced art form. If you all remember that 300 millisecond tap delay a couple years back in mobile web browsers, I had some very difficult UI bosses that never let me down on this and beat me over the head with this all the time. Users really noticed this. They knew something was different, but they didn't know what it was. And this is really what told me, you know, people really pay attention to these subtle nuances on mobile devices particularly. As we all know, Slack has an awesome desktop app, works amazing in the web. They took that experience and put it in Electron on the desktop, works fantastic. Interestingly, if you access that and try to get the messaging there, you can't on the mobile browser. I don't know why this is exactly, but you'll see some other players do this. I'm not here to talk about best choice for web and mobile dev. Not at all what this talk is about. There is no magic bullet when it comes to this stuff. Software takes a lot of work. Everyone in this room works really hard at what they do, and it's hard. You always want to choose what works for your product goals and team resources. Sometimes doing development in this way may not fit your particular scenario. That's fine. To me, just knowing the options, the facts, you got to try them out. That's the biggest thing for me. One of these options, NativeScript, gives you a singular component library which provides you both native UI components on iOS and Android respectively. This provides best-of-class device feel and performance. So I'm talking about that subtle difference when you feel the mobile device. Versatile view rendering architecture. This is really important. This is what allows us to take a singular component and we can render it natively on iOS and on Android. Angular, the other side to this balance, provides robust app development libraries, efficiency, scalability, creative development. Love Angular. It also has a versatile view rendering architecture. What I mean by this is, of course, you can take the component and you could have a view template that's decorated for any platform. In this case, of course, we're seeing the switch, handling both iOS and Android natively, and then we can get best of class on the web. Really combining provides a nice balanced developer user experience. I worked with a lot of junior developers over 6 months on this Portable North Pole project. A lot of them had not had a whole lot of Angular experience and had never seen NativeScript for sure. But they actually really found a fast, rapid learning experience with these two together. They go very well together. Versatile app development support, and as I was talking about, versatility with programming languages. So how best to use them together? It's a question I've gotten a lot, and for a while, this really felt like a game of Go Fish. There were a couple things out there. I had done this advanced seed, and it was pretty good too, but we were kind of in a mode of experimentation. We were really trying to see what could work, what would work best. Luckily, the talent coming from the Angular team itself has created Norwal, this wonderful group, and they introduced NX. I remember when Victor Savkin published this article back in early October, and I almost could not sleep. I was so excited about this because I was in the trenches with that Portable North Pole project, and we actually decided to manage 3 repos because we had junior developers focusing on platform specifics. And it worked pretty well for a while, but we definitely were striving to get it all back together and bring it in one and make it a lot faster again. NX saved the day on this project. Using NativeScript with NX is actually very simple. Again, when I saw this article in October, I thought, I gotta try this, I gotta make sure NativeScript works in it, and literally took a Saturday, had it converted Sunday, and we had the whole team using the NX workspace by Monday. It's just like setting up an NX workspace as you would come accustomed. This is straight from Norwal IO docs on NX, installing the schematics and the CLI. You can generate an app just as normal, of course. This is generating a web app, of course. Now, to drop NativeScript in it, this may change over the next couple months because there is some schematics that's being written for NativeScript to make these two a little more seamless. And right now, today, what you can use is a template that I created that provides a lot of best practices out of the box, a lot of lessons learned over years experimenting with these two together. And also, this is a template that we actually based a lot of Portable North Pole on. You can go into the apps directory and just use the TNS command line utilities to create a mobile app, and then just specify this template, and it'll get you going right away. Of course, the biggest thing of bringing these two together is sharing the code. That's what we're talking about. You can generate a lib just like you would in an NX workspace. You can take this lib, create all sorts of shared code, and you can start sharing that with NativeScript and any web app. The only difference with NativeScript today, and again, this may change when the schematics get a little tighter, but right now, you would want to add a package in that lib that you create in the workspace. Reason for this is because NativeScript uses npm to actually determine and coalesce its dependencies when it creates its build. And so we use this as just a way to say, hey, you know what? You can actually use this and install it like any other dependency. And so the way that looks is like this. And this is straight from the conference app, actually. We had 2 shared libs, API and core. A lot of these share NGRX, actions and effects chains. And you can see in this package file that we actually leverage all the shared dependencies from the root. So this is really important too in this type of development, because you don't want to compile a lib compiled against a different version of RxJS, for instance, or Angular, and then include that in an app that was built against a different version. That'll cause some weird conflicts. So in this workspace, it enforces uniformity in the package dependencies that you have, not only in the web apps from the root of the workspace, in the libs, and in the mobile app. This is kind of a high-level look at the organization to this architecture we built for Portable North Pole. In the root, this is the root of the workspace. You can see the package. This is all our Angular dependencies, NGRX. Norwal has a great dependency as well. Web plugins and build tooling, your standard stuff generally that you get from like Angular CLI. On top of that, in the libs, this is the core layer. We decided to go with one library. Just for now. In 2018, this is probably going to be split into several other libraries, but what this housed is the core and feature modules to this project, base components, and actions and effects. Now this may sound confusing on the top, but I'm going to break it down for you in just a moment. What we did on each target platform is on the web, we take these abstract base common component traits, we decorate them with the platform-specific templates. In this case, for the web, it's DOM HTML templates. Then we add some web platform providers in there. And we do the same on mobile. So this is the same practice across, really, you could do this for any platform. If NativeScript started to work with desktop APIs, you could do this exact same thing. What this looks like is really quite simple. This is an abstract class, and on the web, we can take this abstract class and simply extend it, and we do the same on the mobile app. The unique thing on both, on left and right, if you see, we're just decorating it with the platform-specific metadata. On the left, we have the DOM. On the right, we have NativeScript markup, best-of-class device feel on iOS and Android, and that lets us share that list. This is a contrived example, of course, but that list could come from an API. It could be any type of data. It actually could be inputs and outputs and bindings for your component, and methods. So what I'm talking about when I say web and mobile platform providers, here's a simple example, a really useful one. This is the platform language. So as we all know, we can get the language on a mobile browser from the window navigator language. Now on a mobile device it's different. There is no global window because we're not dealing with the web there. So what we can do is actually use the NativeScript libraries to provide us the device language. So this is the user's local and preferred locale they use on their device. Now, why would we want to do this? All for the purpose of sharing code and maximizing and reducing maintenance. What we can do with this token now is actually inject it into any shared service across our libs, across components, across apps, and we will always know that that language is the user's default locale. We don't have to worry about what platform we're running on. That token is going to be the user's correct language, no matter the platform. Here's a more sophisticated example, and this is actually the last example I'm going to provide. Modals is something we have to do a lot, and there's quite a bit of differences between implementing a modal on web and on a native mobile device. We use this strategy everywhere, and in fact, the past 2 days, I just spent all day on a workshop working through some of these strategies with a couple folks. The top is a simple injectable that's going to represent the platform. This is going to be the actual platform modal service that we use from web or mobile. We take that injectable, we insert it into a shared service. Modal service is what we're going to use everywhere. So we want this API to be really succinct and concise and simple. You can see it only provides open and close. Very simple. Inject modal service, open a modal, close it. Simple. Under the hood, it's quite smart because the platform modal service is actually going to open it using whatever implementation we choose to use. How this works out is on the left, we have web, and you can see Angular material is actually being used. This could be ng Bootstrap as well. Here on mobile, we actually use NativeScript's Modal Dialog Service. They have a perfect one that works and abstracts iOS and Android differences. So we get a fluid and very nice modal experience on web and mobile. So in this example, this is injecting the modal service, and we can see that the left and right are identical. This is the design. This is why we want to do this, because actually we could take that component and now refactor it into a base common component and extend that, and now we've reduced code yet again. This is what that looks like in practice. So on the left, this actually is using ng Bootstrap, and then on the right, we have a native modal. This is one on iOS, for instance. You can see both of them feel just like that platform feels. That's the best of class we're talking about. To conclude, both NativeScript and Angular for me, really, it's all about this balance and harmony. You really could broaden project potential to be more inclusive of software brothers and sisters. You really get versatility across all disciplines. When it comes to mobile, you can interact with all the APIs, Objective-C, Swift, Java, Kotlin. Balance the dev and user experience. Share code to develop faster with greater stability plus ease future maintenance is important as I look ahead into this year, and the team that we led development on at U Group Media now is going to take what we've done and now see and reap the fruits of those benefits to make this year much easier to develop new features. Chances are you hang around Angular long enough and you too may become a superhero. And that's it. I appreciate you guys listening very much.